What's up, poker people? My name is Wes, and this is my friend Kurt. And we're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm actually going to record Kurt playing, and I'm going to do a hand review, a session review over all his hands for this session. Check it out. First of all, I want to thank Kurt for being brave enough to put his entire session on video for me. The intention of this vlog is to look for some leaks or some improvements that Kurt could make and you guys at home could also make in your game. This is just basically a peer review, bringing another person's viewpoint in to discuss some things that maybe he didn't realize. And he's starting out here with pocket jacks with a small all-in and he takes it down. That's a good start. Kurt starts this hand under the gun and he has king jack offsuit. He's going to raise it up to $15. I really try to avoid these offsuit Broadway or just offsuit anything hands under the gun. They're just really hard to play out of position. If this hand was suited, I probably would still even fold it under the gun. On the flop, we got a king high, backdoor flush draw, but it's really hard to turn any equity. We're going to have to turn a queen or a 10 of spades in order to continue in this hand. If instead we were in position, we could have c-bet this flop, but we have to fold now. As I mentioned, I also played in this game, and I'm going to start out in the 10 seat before eventually moving over to Kurt's left. But currently there's a guy on Kurt's left who's raising up his big blind to 15 bucks. And he looks down at 7-5 offsuit. Definitely just going to fold. Oh, he calls. Okay, that's a little bit loose. Going to see a flop of 7-5 and flop absolutely nothing. And turn nothing, and he's just going to have to check fold. So that 7-5 call was a little bit loose, and I'm pretty sure Kurt doesn't always play that way, but currently he's limping in the small blind with 4 deuce offsuit, but the guy on his left does raise. This is going to save him from getting into any trouble in this hand, but he should have just folded. He's calling? He's calling with 4 deuce offsuit? What are we doing? What possible flop are we hoping to hit? 4-4 deuce? Take a look at this image. His likelihood of flopping 33% or more equity with 4 deuce against 3 players is less than 10%. Now, we're still early in the game. Maybe Kurt was just getting rid of some of those jitters by playing a few hands, mixing it up a little bit. Looking down a 10-8 offsuit, an obvious fold to a raise. And what are we doing? I don't understand. So Kurt calls with 10-8 offsuit, and the flop is ace 6-3. He has no draw, no backdoors, no pairs. Check, check, and he folds the turn. What now? Is he going to go all in with 7 deuce? Oh, hey, look, a respectable hand. Ace 4 suited. There was a button straddle of 6. Small blind called, big blind folded, and under the gun limped. And Kurt's going to raise it up. I do like this raise. Sizing is a little bit small. I would make it 35 or 40. And he flops a full house. Holy cow. All right, so wait, did he just check? We finally get a real hand and we hit a flop and now we're not even gonna build a pot with it? We're in position, we should be betting this flop with a lot of our hands, including the times when we flop it. But at least now we got Glenn leading into us for $30. But the awkwardness now is, do you min raise? Do you make it 70? Do you just call? Wow, he's just gonna call. It's gonna be hard to get a lot of money in on this river. The river's a jack of hearts. Glenn checks, and now it's time to go for some value, but I'm just not sure what hand's going to call us. If he had a flush, he just would have kept betting. If he had an ace, he probably would have bet too. But we don't really have an option, right? We need to bet now. Sizing should be kind of small. He bets 75. I'm okay with this sizing. Maybe we could get called by some sort of one pair hand, but he folds a jack. Kurt's in late position in this hand. He's in the hijack. He looks down at king 8 suited. He's coming in for a raise for $15, and look at that VPIP hitting 40%. The issue Kurt has now is that I have moved to his left, and I am going to 3-bet him a lot. These are the hands that if he's going to open, he's going to have to be prepared to fold, but he does call. And the issue here is I'm going to c-bet this flop 100% of the time, and he's only going to hit it about 30%, and he's going to have to fold. In middle position now, Kurt looks down at ace 10 offsuit. It's not quite his turn yet. It's got an okay hand, and the player on his right is going to raise it up to 12 bucks. Let's see if Kurt's going to play this. He decides to go for a 3-bet. I like this play, but I would actually make it more. You need to get this guy to fold some percentage of the time. And in this scenario, he actually re-raises all in. He doesn't have a lot more. Probably going to call, but Kurt decides to isolate, making it 135 more. This seems a little unnecessary. I think you can just call and go to a flop. And now the player, a couple seats to his left, shoves all in and he has to fold and loses about 160 bucks without even seeing a flop. He was up against Ace Jack and Ace Queen. They ran it twice. Ace Queen High won the top and Ace Jack hit a jack on the bottom to split the pot. This hand starts with Todd raising it up to 20 bucks. Kurt's gonna look down at pocket fours. I would definitely call this if I'm deep enough, and to me, deep enough means $400+. He does call. Go four ways to the flop. Let's flop a four. No, King, King, 7. If this was checked to me, I would go ahead and bet this, try to take it down, but instead, the first player to act just shoves all in and then shows King, Queen. Here's a tip. Don't do that. Kurt's on the button in this hand. I'm excited to see how he plays his button. He starts out putting a straddle on there. I like that. $6 button straddle. And he looks down at 10-6 offsuit. Yeah, no reason to get creative, just check. It's an all-king flop. I think this flop is an okay flop to bluff. It checks around, and now Kurt's going to make a bluff on the turn. I guess it doesn't perform much worse than a bluff on the flop. I just think that people are ready to move on to the next hand when they see King, 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 but once you've all checked around and now you start betting the turn, maybe they're a little bit curious. Ace on the river. I don't expect anyone to fold any pair, so I don't think betting this river card is a good idea. If he has a 9, he's not folding, and he does call. And 10 high gets put right in the muck. Alrighty, we're starting this hand in the small blind. We're going to be out of position the entire hand, something to think about. But it's only limping around. He's got ace 5 offsuit in the small blind. Puts in 2 more bucks to see a flop. I don't have a problem with this. See if we can flop something. We flop an ace in a limp pot. I would just go ahead and lead out. Kurt checks. He's going to let someone else bet this. Just make sure you know if you're checking whether you think you're pot controlling or trapping. Since he just check calls, it looks like he's pot controlling against what might be a better ace. But he turns a 5, so if they did have a better ace that wasn't a6 or a7, he just sucked out on them. He checks and his opponent same bets him. He bets the same bet on the turn that he did on the flop. And now Kurt check raises to 50 bucks, so he does think he sucked out on a better ace, maybe ace 9 or ace 8. 10 on the river, that could be one of the cards that could give his opponent a better 2 pair. I think his hand's strong enough to put a value bet in here. Let's see what he does. He bets $90 on the river. There are quite a few 2-pair combinations that could call this bet, but his opponent puts him all in for $390. This is a tough spot, but Kurt makes the call and his opponent shows 9-8 for a turn straight. After taking that tough beat, Kurt added on $500. He's ready to go in this hand. We got a couple limps under the gun, and the player on our right makes it $15, and Kurt looks down at ace king suited. Big hand, and he makes a 3-bet to $50. I think this is a good size. I would definitely 3-bet this hand every time. We get a cold call from Glenn. He's cold calling the 3-bet, and it's back around to the original raiser. And he's going to 4-bet to $225. That's a pretty big 4-bet. Kurt's got a decision to make here because he has $485. He can't just call. So he's either shoving or folding. That's a 5x 4-bet. If he was to fold here, I wouldn't be shocked. And if he was to get it all in, I wouldn't be surprised either. And he is all in for $485. Glenn's caught in the middle. He's going to hem and haw and muck. And we're heads up, going 5 cards with the player on our right. Probably going to need to hit an ace or a king in this hand. Flop is 10-9-4, no help for Kurt. Turns a jack, that gives him a gut shot draw to go with his 2 overs, but the river's a 3, and he's up against pocket aces. So that kind of explains the guy's big 5x 4-bet. If Kurt had folded this pre-flop, I would have been okay with that if he had thought this sizing was just too big for a 4-bet. But getting it all in is not a mistake, and even against a tight range, he has almost the right amount of equity. That's really just a setup hand. For poker gear that doesn't have cartoon donkeys, check out razorclothing.com. After getting felted, Kurt reloaded for $1,000, and he's going to look down at a suited one-gapper out of position with no chips, and he's going to raise it up to 15 bucks. A player told me one time, Wes, right after I lose a hand, I like to get in there and raise the very next hand to show everyone that I'm not scared. And I thought, yeah, so does every other losing player. I think this hand is a little bit too wide. Being under the gun +1, he does flop 3 to a straight flush, and he decides to c-bet it, but I don't know if this is gonna work. Ace-high boards can be tough. Oh, it worked. Okay, not bad. All right, Kurt's back on the button again, and he's got the straddle going. There was a raise pre-flop to $27, and Kurt's gonna make a call. Look at that VPIP back up to 40%. I would have folded this pre-flop, but he does hit a 7, and it checks to him. Time to make a value bet. I would bet around. Oh, he just checks. I'm not sure why. The turn is a 10, and now after not continuation betting, his opponent bets $30 on the turn. It's hard for me to say if I would make this call or not because I would have just bet the flop, and then I wouldn't be in the spot on the turn. But the river's an ace, and now he has top and middle pair. His opponent checks, and it's definitely time to go over some value. I don't think our opponent can have a lot of really strong hands, so we just gotta bet something small, not $250. That's never gonna work, and he folds pocket kings face up. This hand's limping around, Kurt's in the small blind. He looks down at 7-3 suited, and I can already guess that he's gonna call. I don't hate this, but I don't love it. It just seems like a waste of money if you keep doing it over and over, and he's been doing it over and over. Going to a flop. Hey, we flop a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw. He checks it. Checks around to Glenn. Glenn bets 30 bucks. This would be a great spot for a check raise. It's going to be tough to get value from your straight if you just check call, hit your gut shot, and now there's 4 to the straight on the board. And now you've got another opponent in the hand. Hey, look, it's me. That's right, I'm in this hand. We got 3 going to the turn. And the turn is the ace of diamonds. This gives Kurt a flush draw. He checks, and it goes check, check, check really fast. And the river's the deuce of diamonds. He backdoored a flush. This is way better than hitting that gut shot. It's hard for anyone to have a very strong hand. I do like this sizing, $65. And now Kurt's getting raised by me. I make it $180 and he snap calls, and I have 10-5 of diamonds for a bigger flush. 2 donkeys with gut shots and backdoor flush draws collide. Kurt's in middle position on this hand. He's going to look down at King Jack offsuit, and I would just let this hand go, but he's going to make it 15 bucks. Going to get a couple callers and go to a flop. King Jack spade and clubs. The flop is ace 8-7 with 2 hearts and 1 diamond. No backdoor flush draw, only a backdoor gut shot straight draw. I would just check when check to me, but Kurt's going to bet $20, going to try to take this down on the flop, and it's not going to work. Both players call. The turn's the deuce of diamonds, brings a second flush draw. They check and Kurt checks, and the river's the ace of spades. He gets led into for $25, and he makes the right play finally by folding on the river. This hand started with a straddle on Kurt's left by yours truly. There's also a raise off camera on the left, as well as a call. And then we've got some callers in late position. The raise was $21. We have a chance to see a really big pot with pocket threes. Kurt has 2 black threes going to a flop 6-handed. The flop is Jack 6-4 with the 6-4 of spades, but we don't flop a set with our black threes. And as the saying goes, no set, no bet. Just gonna have to fold this as there is a continuation bet. Oh, but Kurt's calling. I don't really understand why. The best we can turn would be the 5 of spades to give us an open-ended straight flush draw, but the 7 of spades was actually the exposed burn card, so I'm not sure that would be why he's calling. Was he calling to turn a 3 or maybe a Any five? I don't think any five is going to be good enough to turn us open-ended. I'm not sure what we were trying to do with this call, but now there's an all-in of $130, which hopefully we're not going to call. Oh, thank God. Let's just move on to the next hand. For a quick break, we're going to watch a hand that I played. There's a raise to $20. Got a couple callers, and it gets around to me in the small blind. I make the call for $20. We're going to do the mystery hand on this hand, so you won't know what I have until the end. 4 players go into the flop. The flop is 8-4-3 with 2 spades and 1 club. Checks to the pre-flop raiser who bets $50. Quickly folds around to me. I decide to call. The turn is the 10 of clubs, puts a second flush draw out there. 10 8 of clubs, 3-4 spades. I check to the pre-flop raiser who bets $100, and I'll tell you what, I was watching this guy and I just didn't believe him at this point. I didn't know what he had, but I didn't believe he was actually as strong as he was acting, and I decided to go ahead and put him all in after confirming how much he had. I raised to $275. He ends up having $271, and he doesn't call right away, but he is eventually going to make the call.
I just have a 4.
Did I just say I only have a 4? Yep, that's right. I only have a 4. At this point, I'm not sure I have the best hand anymore. I show 4-7 of diamonds. The river's a 5 of spades. That has to be bad for me. But he puts his cards in the muck and I take it down. I guess my read was right. Let's check back in on Kurt. There's a raise under the gun to $15, and Kurt has pocket kings. I assume he's going to 3-bet this hand. He makes it $60 to go. It's a little bit bigger than he's been doing previously, but I like this sizing, and look at that. I flat his 3-bet on his left. Back around to the original under the gun raiser, and he goes all in for $200 even. So back around to Kurt, decide what to do. He decides to just call. I guess he's trying to rope me in. We're going to go 3 ways to this flop. Kurt and I are heads up for a side pot. And Pocket King's worst nightmare, an ace on the flop. The flop is ace 10 deuce. Kurt checks and I check. The turn is a 4. I think Kurt can bet this turn card. There's no way I checked an ace in this pot on the flop. But he checks and the river's a jack. He checks one more time. If you're going to check the turn, I don't see why you would bet this river. And I bet $300. Now Kurt's got a decision. But staring at that ace, I don't think he can call this very often. He knows I'm going to have to go to showdown with the original all-in player, and there's really not a big enough side pot for me to bluff at, so he does fold. The raiser shows ace-queen, and I show pocket jacks. I rivered a 2-outer. Although the outcome wouldn't have changed, I do think Kurt could bet this turn card to prevent giving me the free roll to hit my 2-outer, but other than that, he played the hand just fine. And now it's Kurt's turn to play pocket jacks. There's an under the gun straddle of $6. He's going to make it 25 to go. He's going to pick up a few callers along the way. We're going to go to the flop, 4-handed with pocket jacks. And we're out of position. But it's a pretty good flop, 8-8-3 with 2 diamonds. Kurt's going to c-bet this $50. I like this sizing. Todd's going to call in late position, and the turn's the 4 of spades. Still pretty safe. Todd most likely has overcards or 2 diamonds, but this sizing on the turn is really too small. He bet about a third pot, and if he did have overs or a flush draw, he was getting the right price to call. Queen of diamonds on the river goes check, check. Todd has 8-9 for trips. What just happened? So Queen of diamonds on the river. I understand that Kurt's not going to bet this card, but why did he check so quickly without acting like maybe he was going to bet? And then Todd doesn't even consider value betting trip 8s. There's no way Kurt was betting with the flush draw and now just checks the river. And there's no way he had pocket queens and just checks the river. I don't understand what Todd's doing. Get me in this game. Oh, that's right. I'm already in the game. I bought in for 500. Kurt looks down at ace-10 offsuit in middle position and decides to limp in. Earlier in the evening, he was 3-betting this hand. Why would you go from 3-betting to now just limping in with the same hand? We get to the flop, it's jack 9-5 with 2 clubs, and he does not have any clubs, so this hand is over. His opponent bets 25 and he's calling $25. Maybe he's just watched too much TV poker where Mike Sexton says he's calling on the flop here to take it away on the turn. Well, if you're going to take it away on the turn, this is the card to do it on. But he checks behind. And now a fourth club on the river. He checks his cards and he doesn't even try to bluff on the river. He just shows down ace-10 high and his opponent shows pocket deuces, no club, and wins the pot. Now Kurt's on the button and you're going to win the most money on the button of all positions, which makes sense why he would want to put a $6 straddle on. He had the option to punish the limpers with pocket sixes. I would check this sometimes too, and I'd especially check it if I knew I was going to turn a set. I don't know what those hand gestures were, but he has a set, does value bet for 20 bucks, even though there are 3 hearts out there, and he gets a call from the big blind. It's going to be interesting to see this river, if he's going to value bet if it's a brick. And it's pretty much a brick, a 5 of diamonds. Checks over to Kurt on the button and he makes a value bet of $60. I like this bet. His opponent folds. Yeah, we see you, Kurt. Good job. Maybe after that pocket sixes hand, Kurt can get some momentum going. He's in middle position here. Oh, my bad, guys. I gotta delete this. How did this is not supposed to be in here, King 4. What is he actually just limped in with King 4? When I see all you guys limping in, is this what you guys are limping in with? King 4? He goes to a flop. He hits a king, has a backdoor flush draw, but I don't even know how to tell him how to play this hand because I'm just not limping in with King 4 suited. On the ace King 3 flop, there's a bet of $15 and a call. I guess with a pair and a backdoor flush draw, you're gonna see a turn card. Let's see what Kurt does. He calls $15. We're going to see a turn card, and if it's not a diamond or a 4, I would hope this hand's going to be over. Okay, it's a 10 of clubs. Now there's a lot of Broadway hands out there that can beat you. The guy that bet on the flop now bets $17. He's just praying for a call. One player folds. The other player looks like he's going to call, and it's back to Kurt. It's time to just get rid of this hand. I don't know what we're trying to hit on this river. The river's the 8 of spades. I'm just glad he didn't hit a 4. And now the guy bets one more time for 15 bucks. Clear value, and he gets called. And I don't know what we ever beat here on the river with another player calling. This is definitely a fold. Guys, don't play King 4. All right, let's see what atrocity we're going to try to put to work in this hand. Hey, King Queen. That's a good hand. We're going to raise it? Yeah, we're going to raise King Queen. We make it 20 bucks to go. We're getting lots of callers, but that's fine. This hand plays well. Let's see the flop. The flop is Queen 10-9 with 2 hearts. That's a pretty good flop for Kurt. He does have the Queen of Hearts in case he needs it later on in the hand. And he gets led into for $100. Definitely going to call with top pair and a gut shot. We're going 3 ways to the turn. It's the 3 of clubs, a complete brick. Checks to the guy who let out on the flop, and now he's all in for $300. It's kind of an awkward spot, although we do have top pair and a gut shot. There's another player in the hand, and he's actually joked that if we call, which leaves us $35 behind, he's just going to put us all in. So it seems like he's going to call. We do make the call, and he just calls. Pot's $1,356. Kurt actually has about $35 left behind, but it looks like they're just going to check it down. The river's a king, top 2 pair, and that's good enough to win. He did need it. The guy had 10-9. The other player had King 3 for a pair and a flush draw. He rivered a worse 2 pair. Kurt takes down a $1,300 pot. Fast forward about 1 orbit later. We got a raise to $15 and a call, and Kurt looks down at ace-10 suited. I think this is a great spot to 3-bet, but he's just going to call. I would like to make the squeeze play here. We're going to the flop with ace-10 of clubs. The flop is Queen of spades, 10 of hearts, 6 of diamonds. He flops second pair. The pre-flop raiser c-bet's $35. The player on our right, he's going to make the call with second pair. Why are we folding? We've been calling and betting with second pair all night long. We've hit the point in the night where now we're just folding second pair. I don't even understand what's going on. Did he misread his cards? He would have rivered aces up, aces and tens, and look at that, a $200 bet. I think aces and tens would have been the best hand here. Frustrating. Back on the button with a $6 straddle. Got two limpers. Card looks down at King Jack offsuit. I would go ahead and punish the limpers. He decides to check and see a flop, which is odd because the second hand of the vlog, he raised this exact hand under the gun, and now on the button, he doesn't want to put a raise in. I would actually bet this flop, but I understand he's going to check. Turns a jack, that's a good card. Todd bets 10 bucks, definitely going to call. We're heads up to the river. Oh, and it's another jack. That's a good card. Todd bets 10 again, and if Kurt just calls, I'm shutting down this vlog right now. Okay, good, he raised. He made it 35. Oh, Todd folds, he was bluffing. Just a few hands later, there's a $6 button straddle with a limper, and Kurt looks down at ace king offsuit, makes it 30 to go. I would make it a little bit bigger, but I'm glad to see him raising. I was pretty sure he would raise this hand, and Todd is gonna 3-bet to 105 on the button. Now, whether or not I would 4-bet or just call is going to depend on both the player and my stack size. Kurt's going to call, and that's a fine play. And we see that ace on the flop, which is what we need to see. What the hell? Kurt's going to check to the pre-flop 3-better. Todd's going to check behind, and the turn is another ace. Seems like a really good card, but if Todd had a hand like pocket kings, can he even call a bet? Betting small is the way to go. I like this bet size. We have this board locked up so strong. The river is the 8 of hearts. This is interesting because I don't know what Todd can call with, but we're going to have to bet because our hand is so strong. If Todd had kings or jacks, he's probably not going to call, but maybe he'll call with kings. Small bet makes sense. He bets 150. I think this is the right size to get a call from a hand that didn't want to bet this flop. And now Todd's raising to $550. I don't know what to do in this spot. Kurt's hand is so strong he can't fold, but Todd is basically never ever bluffing. He makes the call and Todd has pocket queens. What a f***ing cooler. If you really want to get into it, maybe this is a river fold when he raises to 550, but I don't think I can do it. Kurt's under the gun. There's a button straddle of 6. The big blind's got to complete, and he has 8-9 suited under the gun. Please don't limp. All right, he makes it 25. I would still go bigger, as I said before. I think this is just going to get a bunch of people to call all the time. We're going 4 ways to the flop. Hey, that's not so bad. 8 of spades, 5 of hearts, 3 of diamonds, top pair, backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. Kurt C-bets 50 bucks. I think a lot of the time this is just going to get folds from everybody, but a player 2 to his left makes it $200. Now the guy on the right, he tries to raise but only puts out 300. They realize he's got to make it 350, but basically this hand is over for Kurt. What is going on with these guys? Yeah. You're going to have to fold that. Kurt makes the fold. They get it all in. Turn is the ace of diamonds and the river's the jack of spades. Pocket threes, flop to set and takes it down. There's a $6 button straddle, a few seats to Kurt's left. We got players limping in for 6. It's going to come around to Kurt. He's going to look down at ace 5 suited. And he's putting a raise in at $35. Again, I would still make it bigger, 45, maybe even 50. You're just going to get everyone to call at this size. But now one of the original limpers decides to go all in for $170. It's going to be time to let this hand go. It's unfortunate. We do have a playable hand, but most of the time it's playable because you can win a ton more than what you're investing, and you don't want to invest. He's calling $170 with ace 5 suited. This is just a clear fold, and before Kurt can even get his money in there, the big blind makes it 400 to go, and he's going to ruin everybody's fun. Except Kurt's all in for $400 with ace 5 suited. Part of me wants to say he's been playing tight all night, and he just can't do it anymore. But he hasn't even been playing tight all night. He's now all in with ace 5 suited, basically no draw, no pair, and he rivers ace high to lose his last $400 in this session. I'd like to thank Kurt for being such a good sport during this vlog. He knew ahead of time I was going to be hard on him. We actually did an entire session review of this same session live on the live stream a few weeks ago, so he knew the things I was going to say, but I just had to put them in vlog format. Kurt, hopefully you find a few things to work on your game. And guys, go easy on Kurt in the comments. Unless you're willing to put up a video like this and have me rip you apart, you shouldn't say anything.